1. What would happen if all the coral reefs died off?
Coral reefs are filled with colorful ocean life, but they're in danger of dying off. The planet has already lost 50% of its coral in the last 30 years. If the rest go, the consequence would be dire. Sea life has the most to lose. Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, but they provide an essential ecosystem for a quarter of all marine life. One of these creatures, a type of sea slug, is actually an important ingredient in certain cancer-fighting compounds. In fact, some estimates predict that we are 300 to 400 times more likely to find new drugs from coral reef ecosystems than land-based ones. But that's only if they survive the next century.
In addition to breakthrough medicines, over 500 million people depend on these reefs for food and work. Almost 1/5 of the world's protein comes from seafood, with people eating on average 50 pounds per year. The US fishing industry supports 1.5 million jobs alone, nearly a quarter of what the US meat and poultry industry employs. Without reefs, billions of sea life creatures would suffer, millions of people would lose their most significant food source, and economies would take a major hit. But it's not just about the jobs. Coral reefs attract tourists to more than 100 countries and territories worldwide. These tourists spend billions of dollars diving into the underwater landscapes. Without these attractions, economists estimate that coastal tourism would drop more than 9%, which is equivalent to about $36 billion.
These reefs also provide protection to the tourist-reliant coastlines. They act as natural barriers, cancelling out 97% of a wave's strength and protecting more than 200 million people. Building seawalls for the same protection costs $2.5 million per mile. But today, humans are putting these all at risk. Rising ocean temperature and pollution stress the coral, which can kill entire coral ecosystems within just a few months. Half of the US Caribbean coral died in one massive bleaching event back in 2005. If we do nothing to cool the oceans, the planet's remaining coral could be all wiped out.
2. 4 of the world's deadliest venoms.
You've been bitten! And, it's venomous. How long have you got? Well, that depends on a few factors, including the potency, dose delivered, and speed of distribution. Turns out, not all venoms act the same way. Here are the animals with the fastest acting venom on Earth. First up, spiders. There are around 40,000 species of spider, and most are venomous. But thankfully, only a handful pose a threat to humans, including the male Sydney funnel-web spider. Its venom is 60 times as potent as cyanide and can kill a human in 1 to 2 hours. The venom attacks the nervous system, kicking it into overdrive until ultimately it shuts down.
Of course, spiders aren't the only venomous animals in Australia. It's home to 20 of the world's 25 deadliest snakes, including the eastern brown snake, which is responsible for the most snakebite deaths in the country. Its venom is 8,000 times stronger than cyanide, and can kill a human in about 1 hour. Its venom also attacks the central nervous system. But, this time, it slows everything down. And, to top it off, the venom has a coagulant that causes the blood in your veins to arteries to clot.
Between the two, it's not a good way to go. Now, at this point, you might consider switching your Australian safari to a scuba dive, just to be on the safe side. But, venomous animals live in Australian waters too, like the blue-ringed octopus. Its venom is 1,000 times more toxic than cyanide, and it'll bring down a human in just 20 to 40 minutes. Bacteria in its saliva makes an extremely potent neurotoxin, which paralyzes your muscles. And, once that paralysis hits your diaphragm and ribs muscles, you have only a few minutes before you suffocate to death. But, Another marine animal is even deadlier. The fastest acting venom on Earth belongs to the Australian box jellyfish, or sea wasp. It's not the most potent venom out there at 2,000 times stronger than cyanide, but encounter one of these guys and you'll be dead in 15 minutes. That's because the tentacles are covered with tiny, venom-loaded darts called nematocysts, which shoot heart-stopping toxin into the body wherever they make contact.
All of this sounds pretty scary. But remember, you're less likely to die by venomous spider than by car crashes, an infection, or disease. And it's not like these animals are after you anyway. They'd just as well prefer that you stick to your own habitat. But still, be smart, be respectful, be safe.
3. Why we have different blood types.
Scientists estimate that blood types have been around for at least 20 million years, but doctors have only known about them for the last 116 years. Before 1900, countless people died after they were injected with the wrong blood. But what makes a certain blood type wrong for one person, but right for another? Part of the reason has to do with proteins called antigens on the surface of your red blood cells that define your blood type. For example, type A blood contains type A antigens, whereas type B blood contains type B antigens. But if you mix blood types A and B together, you'll start an all-out war in the body. Your blood plasma contains antibodies that police the body for anything foreign, including antigens that don't match your blood type. When you inject the wrong antigens, antibodies will attack by attaching to them, which causes the blood to clump. These clumps clog blood vessels, which disrupts circulation and can prove fatal. It only takes a few milliliters of the wrong blood to cause a serious reaction, so it's critical that you know your blood type. There are 35 blood group systems in the world, but yours likely falls under the two most common groups, the ABO group and the Rh group. Together, these groups include the 8 blood types that dominate over 90% of the world's population. Odds are that you're either O positive or A positive, which account for about 65% of all human blood types. However, blood type can vary from one location to the next. For example, type O blood is far more common in the Western Hemisphere, while types A and B show up more often in the Eastern Hemisphere. In India, for instance, your odds of being born B positive are 4 times greater than in the US. Yet your chances of developing the rare AB negative blood type are less than 2% worldwide.
Scientists are still trying to figure out why there are so many different blood types and where they came from. We know that blood types are not unique to humans. Dogs, cats, horses, and monkey, to name a few, also have them, but animals usually contain different antigens than humans, so don't go injecting pets with your blood. There's also a growing body of research revealing that blood types play a role in our defense, or lack thereof, against certain diseases. For instance, people with blood type A are at higher risk for some forms of pancreatic cancer and leukemia, as well as smallpox infections, heart disease, and severe malaria, whereas people with blood type O are far less likely to develop severe malaria. But they're more prone to ulcers and ruptured Achilles tendons. So, next time you give blood, take a few minutes to contemplate just how bizarre a business it is when blood eventually enters another human being.